An ancient civilization, shrouded in mystery, has captivated the imagination of scholars and enthusiasts alike. One of the most enduring and speculative theories surrounding its existence is its connection to the legendary lost city of Atlantis. Described by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, Atlantis was said to be a powerful and advanced civilization that mysteriously vanished beneath the waves. Some theorists have proposed that Tartessos could be Atlantis, a 3,000-year-old civilization formed through a blend of indigenous Iberian and Greek peoples, as well as Phoenician settlers who originated from what is now modern-day Lebanon. However, at the center of this mystery is its connection to the lost city of Atlantis, the true identities of the mythical sea peoples and their impact on the countries of Morocco, Libya, Lebanon, and even Ireland. Could Tartessos be the real city of Atlantis itself? In Lebanon, 1950, Dr. Louis Burkhalter, a former French delegate to the Prehistoric Society, wrote in one of the Middle East's leading archaeology journals, the Revue du Musée de Beyrouth, the following statement.
I want to make it clear that the existence of gigantic men in the Herculean age, by which I mean between about 75,000 and 150,000 years ago, must be considered a scientifically proven fact.
In his paper concerning the discovery of oversized implements found across the MENA region, Dr. Burkhalter refers to gigantic stone tools unearthed in Syria, including objects of quote-unquote abnormal dimensions weighing 2.5 kg to 3.5 kg, to another discovery made by Captain R. Lafincher in South Morocco, where similar constructed implements weighing up to 8 kg were found. According to the controversial Italian writer and archaeologist Pier Domenico Colissimo,
indeed, it was in Agada, in Morocco, that Captain Lafincher had discovered a complete arsenal of hunting weapons, including 500 double-edged axes weighing 17.5 pounds, which were 20 times as heavy as would be convenient for modern man. To handle the axe at all, one would need to have hands of a size appropriate to a giant with a stature of at least 13 feet.
From the disproportionate number of clinical cases of gigantism among Moroccan men to a history of discoveries concerning the remains of humanoid giants spanning from the 16th century Tunisia to 21st century Sardinia, it appears that within the Mediterranean region there exists something inherently anomalous. The question is, what could it be? Decades later, in a seemingly unrelated mystery, Morocco's neighbor Mauritania came under the spotlight when its massive geological structure, Qalb al-Rishat, became the focus of us here on the mysterious Middle East, being one of the first on the platform to speculate that this natural geological anomaly could have unnatural origins. This theory was based on research made by several archaeologists who published papers throughout the 2000s stating that Qalb al-Rishat is in actuality the lost city of Atlantis. Of course, another name for the Qalb al-Rishat is the Rishat structure, or the Eye of the Sahara. Weeks later, the Rishat structure hypothesis grew in popularity when YouTube channels like Bright Insight, later followed by Joe Rogan, grabbed the attention of the international media. Since then, Mauritania has remained the primary candidate for the lost civilization. However, in the meantime, other significant discoveries have been made in and around this quarter of the Mediterranean and Atlantic, also hinting to another lost civilization in this same area. and this civilization is officially on record believed to have once been ruled by a giant, who is the descendant of one of history's most famous giants. In April 2023, a monumental archaeological discovery was unearthed in Guarena, Spain, that provided clues to the existence of a lost civilization that for a while some academics viewed as a myth. Here, archaeologists uncovered 5 2,500-year-old statues that may be remnants of an ancient society known as Tartessos, a 3,000-year-old civilization that could be one of the most important lost civilizations in human history that no one is even talking about. Although mainstream archaeologists have now completely embraced the existence of Tartessos as an undeniable part of the Mediterranean history, this civilization is essentially an anomaly that encompasses several interconnected lore and phenomena from aliens to giants that, if understood, has the potential to completely rewrite our science and history books. The Spanish tourist website Fascinating Spain accurately states that the mystery surrounding Tartessos begins with its name. The most widespread opinion among historians and archaeologists is that it refers to a kingdom from the 12th to the 5th century BC, while others make references to biblical links and Greco-Roman mythology. One of the most interesting aspects of this city is that prior to the 2023 discovery, Tartessos was nothing more than a name mentioned in ancient texts, with a mythical status similar to that of Atlantis. Because of the similarity between Tartessos and Atlantis, it's been speculated that both locations are one and the same. Furthermore, we may not merely be talking about a singular city, but an entire nation large enough to engulf the countries of Mauritania, Morocco, Spain, Portugal, and the Azores. Nations that have all at one time been linked to Atlantis.
For in front of the mouth which you Greeks call, as you say, the Pillars of Hercules, there lay an island which was larger than Libya and Asia together, and it was possible for the travelers of that time to cross from it to the other islands, and from the islands to the whole of the continent over against them, which encompasses that veritable ocean.
And according to the lore surrounding Tartessos in particular, this nation was one of the wealthiest in the region, a wealth that was protected by a giant king named Girion.
Okay, we're back, and good evening. Now, speaking of giants, the Nephilim and all of that, here is a strange and albeit a little scary story from one of our neighboring islands for your rush hour drive home.
In Sardinia in 1974, a farmer discovered the head of a massive ancient statue that turned out to be one of the most important archaeological finds of the decade. Then, throughout the 1970s, over 5,000 fragments of giant humanoid statues, roughly 8 feet tall, were subsequently found. Officially, according to historians, they were likely carved by the Nuragic people, a civilization that lived on Sardinia nearly 4,000 years ago. But unofficially, according to some local villagers, the Nuragic people not only had a connection to the lost city of Atlantis, but also created these statues in the likeness of a race of giants that were Atlantean. 6 years later, in 1979, giant bones were reportedly discovered during the excavation of one of Sardinia's many archaeological projects. According to the author Timothy Alberino, individuals who worked on one of these excavations in the town of Sardara testified that multiple skeletons of hominids from 9 to 12 feet tall were discovered at different times near the Church of St. Anastasia, before quickly being seized and removed by an unknown individual or organization. Disturbingly, there have been multiple instances where giant Sardinian bones have vanished just hours after being secured. With a history of discoveries going back over 100 years and reports of such finds being covered in the global media, including in Canada's Sherbrooke Daily Record in October 1953, the US's Red River Prospector in May 1901, and the same report appearing months earlier in March in the Welsh paper The Evening Express, it appears that there was not only mainstream interest in such anomalies, but the topic was treated with a level of seriousness that is now lacking today. with a clear international interest in such oddities. To us, this implies that an organization with significant resources and access, that may not even be Sardinian or from anywhere in the Mediterranean, had, and may still have, a vested interest in getting these bones off the island the moment they are discovered, if indeed they are real. So the question is who and why? Today, all that can be found of these giants are the megalithic statues allegedly crafted in their likeness, and the giant tombs known as dolmens, thought to have once contained their remains scattered around the country. Incidentally, and as we will show later on in this episode, these giant tombs are not only found in Sardinia, but also across the Iberian Peninsula. According to various folklore of the region, spanning from Morocco and Portugal to Egypt and Syria, these tombs and similar oversized burial sites may have housed more than one race or type of giant. Correspondingly, in a book that is considered one of the most culturally important pieces of nonfiction in the United States, despite not being widely known outside of academia, and using the esteemed journal, The Medical Repository, as a significant scientific resource, Joseph Comstock's The Tongue of Time and Star of the States not only delves into the discovery of the remains of giants in the Mediterranean during the 19th century, but also references the possibility of a species of real-life giant cyclopses in the area. This possibility is consistent with Algerian folklore that states that not only giant cyclopes once roamed its land, but also a variety of other strange, vaguely humanoid entities of various sizes. But when it comes to giants, as we will discuss in the next chapter, contemporary researchers in alternative archaeology believe that these cyclopes may have been Atlantean, and just one of several races of giants that came in a variety of terrifying humanoid forms, such as the multi-limbed king Geryon, the king of Tartessos.
As a descendant of Poseidon, according to Greek mythology, Geryon is typically depicted as a chimera, a human with animal properties and characteristics mildly consistent with other anomalous humanoids, believed to have once, and according to some still, exist in the Mediterranean. See our two previous episodes connecting the Moroccan-Portuguese entity known as Aisha Kandisha and her Arab variants in Jordan, Kuwait, and the UAE to learn more. Anyway, illustrations often describe Geryon as a monstrous giant, winged humanoid with multiple limbs and heads, and he was just one of many giants and smaller humanoids said to exist in and around northwest Africa that were also terribly deformed. According to Atlantipedia.io, the journalist Richard Casaro states that not only was Atlantis and by extension Tartessos home to giants, but also a colony of giant cyclopses. The website states that in January 2017, Casaro wrote that the wall surrounding the ancient city of Tarragona in Spain, which is incidentally approximately 350 kilometers from where the Tartessian remains were later to be found, it's in fact a structural remnant for an entire colony of the Cyclops, and that these entities may have originally been Atlantean.
The megalithic Cyclopean stone walls that once surrounded and protected the ancient city of Tarraco, today known as Tarragona in northeast Spain, are mystifying. The classical historians tell us these walls were built by a mysterious race of one-eyed giants called the Cyclops. This undermines the mainstream explanation of the city's origins offered by modern scholars, who claim Tarraco was founded by the Romans 2,000 years ago. But this explanation is directly contradicted by the megalithic prehistoric wall that once surrounded and protected the ancient city of Tarraco. Throughout history, it has been widely recognized that megalithic polygonal walls like the walls in Tarraco could only have been built by one people, the Cyclopses, described by the classical historians as a giant race of master builders with a cyclopean eye, or third eye awakened on their forehead. Now, according to Wikipedia, cyclopean masonry is a type of stonework built with massive boulders, roughly fitted together with minimal clearance between adjacent stones and no use of mortar. The term comes from the belief of classical Greeks that only the mythical Cyclopes had the strength to move the enormous boulders. Correspondingly, Tarraco's megalithic Cyclopean walls once surrounded the entire city. They resemble similar stone walls at other Cyclopean cities in that they are made up of the same polygonal and megalithic architecture. This evidence suggests that the Cyclopses established Tarraco and other Cyclopean cities as a colony or outpost of some kind, a colony away from their homeland and perhaps in enemy territory. The Cyclopes appear to have created small colonies like Tarraco in Spain and Cosa and Norba in Italy, where their lineages ended. Antiquity is filled with refugee stories, the most ancient and famous describing refugees fleeing the sunken Atlantis. Was Tarraco one of the places the survivors of Atlantis settled? A colony where a higher humanity escaped a cataclysm? A golden age humanity?
Although mainstream anthropologists dismiss the idea of giant cyclopses actually existing due to the people confusing elephant skulls for cyclops skulls, other regional examples hinting to oversized humanoids can still be found via the construction of huge megalithic tombs around the Iberian Peninsula. A dolmen is a megalithic tomb, and according to Andalusian folklore, giants are the only beings capable of moving these carved rocks, especially at a time where the mechanical means capable of transporting stones of that size were not easily feasible. Legends of giants that lifted rocks and opened gorges and gullies can be found all over the region, from Spain and Morocco to Syria and Lebanon. Now, if Tartessos was either a strategic trading partner with the city of Atlantis, or was part of a regional superpower that came under the name of Atlantis, encompassing the entirety of Mauritania, Morocco, Spain, and the Azores. This would mean that the April 2023 discovery of ancient statues in Guarena could be Atlantean in origin, making them one of the most significant archaeological finds in modern history. Due to the influence of the Greco-Roman civilization on North Africa in particular, stories of giants and humans interacting with each other can be found throughout the Mediterranean. In Libyan folklore, for example, Antaeus, a Libyan giant, was said to have forced travelers passing through his land to compete with him in a wrestling match. Of course, he overwhelmed them all and used their skulls to roof the temple of his father, Poseidon. In Greek mythology, Poseidon is often associated with the lore of Atlantis. According to Plato's account, Poseidon was said to have been assigned to the protector of Atlantis, but ultimately influential in its destruction. Now, Antaeus' story is part of a canon of stories from Greek folklore concerning a lost race of giants who lived on the coast of Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Tunisia, etc. This geographical distribution is consistent with many giant bones 20th and 21st century archaeologists have found in the Mediterranean. However, they dismissed these finds as proof of giants, stating that they most likely belong to large mammals such as elephants. Yet according to Adrian Mayer from Stanford School of Humanities, when the Romans first came across these bones, they were certain that they belonged to one or more giants. She writes that Commander Quintius Sirotrius, upon arriving in Tangier, Morocco in 81 BC, the locals showed him a huge mound, said to be the grave of Antaeus, who was also the city's founder. And according to the ancient geographer Strabo, the skeleton in the mound was about 85 feet tall. Now, I don't know about you, but an 85 feet tall elephant is just as terrifying as an 85 feet tall human. But anyway, when it comes to Tartessos, like Atlantis, it was believed to encompass the Pillars of Hercules, linking Spain and Morocco. As mentioned in earlier episodes, Morocco is intimately connected to the Irish myth of the Fomorian giants. This connection between Morocco and Ireland hypothetically occurred either through tales told by ancient traders who traveled between the two countries, or an actual literal invasion of Moroccan giants on the shores of Ireland. Although the etymology of their name is uncertain, a commonly accepted theory is that the term Fomorian is derived from the word Fomorici, meaning the men of Morocco. Furthermore, Dietrich considered early Morocco as a colony of Atlantis. While we have suggested this on this channel, that the Fomorian giants may have originated from Atlantis itself, and could theoretically been a member of an anomalous race of warriors known as the Sea Peoples. In some historic interpretations, including within theosophical teachings, there's a belief in the existence of a fourth root race that preceded the human race. Some interpretations suggest that this fourth root race was physically larger and more robust than modern humans, technically making them giants, and Atlantis was apparently one of their homes, where they possessed advanced knowledge and technology. Although there is no real evidence to back this theosophical theory, it is consistent with an idea already present in many other ancient traditions, wherein it's stated that a pre-human race, or an advanced human civilization, once existed on Earth before a global cataclysm or reset occurred. For example, in Islamic theology, the Holy Quran references a race that ruled over the planet prior to the creation of Adam. Some interpret this race as a quote-unquote jinn-like species, a human-like civilization that were either complete savages or technological geniuses, or a combination of both. Pretty much like us modern humans, I guess. The question of how many of these species could have possibly survived one or more global resets into our modern age makes for an intriguing thought experiment. Considering the numerous stories worldwide about unexplainable cryptids, monsters, giants, and other anomalous humanoids allegedly encountered in the 21st century, it's possible that some of these beings are not only remnants of a civilization that predates ours, but may have also inhabited Atlantis and even been members of the feared Sea Peoples, especially within the Mediterranean region. Broadly speaking, the Sea Peoples refer to a series of mysterious and enigmatic maritime invasions and migrations that occurred during the Late Bronze Age, around 1200 BC, in the eastern Mediterranean region towards what's now modern-day Egypt, Lebanon, and Syria. Their mysterious nature lies in their historical obscurity and the lack of concrete information regarding their identities, origins, and motivations. While several ancient sources, including inscriptions from Egypt and the Hittite Empire, make references to encounters with the Sea Peoples, the true nature of who or what they are is unprovable. That was until October 2022, when my friend, the mysterious Middle East, received an email from an Irish amateur archaeologist who has been quietly working with the Spanish government to learn more about this mysterious race, choosing to only be referred to by his initials, MB. This is his story.
MB's story began when a media company made claims that Atlantis is under the Doñana National Park. When investigating this, he instantly found glaringly obvious mistakes in their findings, like confusing World War II bunkers for Atlantean temples. So while using advanced LiDAR technology to do this, he discovered ruins he believes are linked to Tartessos, in an area that on a side point has a history of paranormal occurrences. Historically, Tartessos was a major Celtic hub, with evidence of trade connecting Egypt to Ireland at a time when the Phoenicians were also their main trading partners. Now, according to Irish mythology, a race called the Mycenaeans, who came from the Mediterranean, drove a race of Irish supernatural entities known as the Tuatha De Danann underground in Ireland. If this battle is based on a real-life event, it can be assumed that the Mycenaeans would have had an assistance from a third party, possibly the Phoenicians, the Atlantians, the Sea Peoples, or a composite of all three. MB believes that answers can be found in the ruins uncovered by his LiDAR findings because of the links that already exist between Tartessos and Ireland.
These images show the remains of a large underwater anomaly that plays a pivotal role in the lore of Atlantis. The remnants of the navigational pillars of Hercules, severely damaged by a catastrophic natural event in 1755. What you see here in these images is the temple that was a part of the complex the pillars were in. The place is generally avoided by the locals and is known as Pozzo de Santa Isabel. Apollonius of Tyana, a 1st century Greek philosopher, described the temple as being open and on a flat base with 2 wells in it. It sank in approximately 100 AD due to an earthquake. Now it should be understood that there were 2 sets of pillars constructed at 2 different times in history. The original ones in the temple and the ones on the coast built by the Romans. After the temple sank, attention moved on to the Roman pillars. Another temple was later constructed in honor to the original, which can be found on the Isla de Sancti Petri. This still exists. As for the Roman pillars, they were flattened in the 1755 event, after which the Straits of Gibraltar became known as the Pillars.
However, despite the assistance of top Spanish experts in his research, the officials who can approve further study are simply not interested, with one allegedly saying, "If you agree to leave out the words Tartessos and Atlantis, then I would agree it is a site of archaeological importance, but I am not going near it with a barge pole." Ultimately, when it comes to mysteries in the Mediterranean, there seems to be 3 consistencies. First is the discovery of ancient Egyptian influences in places where they are not expected, from Ireland to even gigantic underwater pyramids in the Azores. Secondly is the theoretical existence of giants, anomalous races in Atlantis. Finally is the presence of powerful, influential organizations that not only forces officials to downplay such oddities, but actively hide them.
Despite the increasing strength of research into the more arcane aspects of the Mediterranean, there's also persistent global academic pushback. When it comes to the topics of giants, one of the prominent historical organizations accused not only of dismissing fringe archaeology, but also allegedly suppressing it is the institution known as the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, established in 1846, is an umbrella group of museums and educational research centers. Since its inception, it has been embroiled in controversy, with archaeologists in the Americas allegedly unearthing dozens of oversized skeletons, only for the Smithsonian to cover up these discoveries. Since this institute has numerous connections with establishments around the world, including the MENA region, it's feared that they may have a hand in suppressing not only the existence of giants here, but also any theory that could potentially upend the Darwinian model for human evolution outside of folklore and religion. Tartessos, like many ancient cultures, has been the subject of claims suggesting that it possessed advanced knowledge and technology surpassing its era. These speculations often revolve around notions of sophisticated machinery, advanced metallurgy, and other scientific innovations, hence why they've been associated with Atlantis and the almost supernatural might of the Sea Peoples. Now, the Sea Peoples were so powerful, in addition to ending the Bronze Age, it's thought that they might have been one of the most influential components in weakening the ancient Egyptian civilization, while posing as a legitimate threat to the Phoenician Empire. Academics argue that Tartessos was heavily influenced by the Phoenician culture and may have been under the Phoenician control at times. Others propose a more intricate relationship involving cultural exchange and trade. Now, if Tartessos was really as powerful as some French theorists believe they were, where did they get that power from? Lebanon? Ireland? Or somewhere more unexpected? Returning to our interview with the amateur archaeologist MB, where he spoke about the importance of Pozzo de Santa Isabel and the original Pillars of Hercules. This area has also been home to numerous strange phenomena reported by local fishermen, including possible UFO and cryptid encounters. According to the Albinas del Atlantic blog, a local fisherman told them that while fishing in this area with friends using 2 boats, at one point They left a 9-year-old child in one of them and went with the other boat to fetch drinking water from the land. When they returned, the boy was found in a panicked state, with his boat flooded. When they asked what happened, the child explained that the sea became rough and a large light shot from beneath it into the sky. On other occasions, strange fish with prominent teeth and no eyes, typical of marine life seen at extremely low depths, were caught here, which is almost impossible to occur. That's why fishermen usually don't frequent this area, and when they do, it's typically in groups. So what exactly are we dealing with here? Enter the ancient ET theory. This intriguing concept that extraterrestrial beings visited our planet in the distant past, sharing their knowledge with human cultures. In the context of Tartessos, this theory offers a compelling perspective that the civilization's advanced technology and knowledge were gifts from extraterrestrial visitors. And when later civilizations became aware of this, they interpreted alien contact as religious contact, turning aliens into godlike beings and titans. Therefore, the very foundations of Tartessos' alleged technological achievements may be rooted in interactions with beings from beyond our world. In the most extraordinary iteration of this theory, Tartessos itself may have been more than a terrestrial civilization, but an extraterrestrial colony or outpost on Earth. Various opinions exist regarding the nature of this alien species, with many delving into the realms of obvious science fiction. However, one recurring theme in both contemporary Atlantean lore and ancient cultures involves the depiction of extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings with reptilian forms. This concept has roots in theosophical ideas about Atlantis, notably presented by Helena Blavatsky in her 1888 book, The Secret Doctrine, where she mentions dragon men who once held a mighty civilization on Earth. In an upcoming episode, it seems that the evidence for the existence of these beings might be found in the deserts of the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, so look out for that. But what is your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? Sound off in the comments, share, like, and subscribe, and look out for the next episode.